So yesterday I talked about Dynamite comics and there basically is controversy that was coming up over a variant cover. And I ended that video saying the one bright spot in all this was that Dynamite seemed to be just keeping their eye on business and wasn't weighing in on any of it. They just weren't getting involved, and hopefully that would calm down some of these knee-jerk, reactions. But about less than an hour after I posted the video, they did weigh in. Changes have happened, and now here we are. So are we in a better place? And that's the question that I'm asking here. Hey everybody, this is Perch. I realized by framing the question that way, it's funny because now, and I need to get this out of my head, I second guess things I say because generally speaking, the majority of people listen to the videos, they like it, they don't, they complain about the audio, whatever. And then there's a very small group, and it is small, kind of on either side of the ideological divide that just believes I'm their enemy. I get messages from people on the Comicsgate side saying, you're always taking the piss out of Comicsgate. And then I get messages from the other side saying, you're always on those Comicsgate people's side. And what's weird is they'll look at the video, they'll both watch the same video and draw the exact opposite conclusion. And some psychologists could come up with a really interesting, theory out of all that. But be that as it may, I ask the question, is it a good thing? So let me explain that a little bit. Basically, to kind of catch everybody up. So Dynamite Comics had a program where you could basically buy in to make a variant cover. You committed to a certain amount of comics, then you could make a cover, they would print it. You'd get kind of the credibility, the prestige, the pat on the back, I don't know what, of being able to work kind of them publishing, them having their masthead, their brand, and also being able to do a comic in theory where you get to use their characters. To me, by the way, I thought that was always the dodgy part of this entire deal, that you could have Vampirella and Red Sonja and whoever else just kind of on these covers doing whatever you want. So in theory, if I wanted to make a cover where I said, I had a comic book character that said, I hate comic books, and all these people are stupid nerds. And then I had like Vampirella and Red Sonja like standing next to me with signs saying, I hate comics. I mean, could I do that? Well, I can't today, but could I have done that a month or two ago? There's always weird, like those properties, do the rights holders care about? Who knows? At any rate, so a couple covers had been made, one by Ethan Van Sciver, and that got people mad. And then more people within the Comicsgate brand, community, whatever you might be, started to do more. And then this led to a guy named Cecil. He had a cover, and in it, his kind of fat hero was being held by Vampirella and Red Sonja, and everybody was horny. And I don't know if everybody was horny, but anyway. So Dynamite decides to promote it. But I think they were promoting all the comics, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they weren't promoting all of them. At any rate, they promoted, they sent out a message to shops, and they put something on Twitter, maybe other places. And this was kind of for whatever reason, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'd love to talk to somebody on the I hate this side and explain to me why this was the straw. Like, I'm just curious. I don't really have a pony in this race. I'm just curious why that cover was the straw that broke the camel's back. So anyway, threats were made. A bunch of creators said, we won't work for Diamond anymore. A bunch of those creators had contracts that were expiring or expired anyway. So it's kind of questionable if they were going to work for Dynamite. I did this last video too. Dynamite anyway. But whatever. So a noise got made. A couple comic retailers, or maybe just one, said that they wouldn't carry Dynamite comics anymore, which I'm of all this, regardless of all the rest of it, I'm just going to call BS on that statement. And I will continue to call BS on that statement because, when DC left Diamond, there are retailers saying we won't carry DC anymore. Guess what? They're still carrying DC. I've heard, and by the way, other sides, I've heard people on the who are on the Trump side say, these SJW comics won't carry them anymore. Yes, you will. I mean, just stop it. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I know that'll make people mad. I'll get angry letters, but I just don't buy it. Maybe you're not carrying as many for your shelves. I don't know what you're planning to do, but if a customer comes in and they want to buy Dynamite or DC or Marvel or whatever, you'd be a fool not to sell it to them. Now, maybe there are fools out there. Well, there's definitely fools out there. Whatever. Anyway, so despite all this hubbub, Dynamite, who was quiet to respond at first, and there are other things, I guess, in the background. I don't know. A couple people, I think Alex DeCampi, Tess Fowler, some others were saying that the Dynamite CEO was chummy with Van Sciver. It's like days of our lives here. So anyway, Dynamite finally weighs in and says, after talking with Cecil, we decided to pull the cover. We're not going to do it. Now, today, in kind of the 24 hours that have followed, a bunch of these kind of variant cover things are starting to vanish, or basically those are getting pulled from Dynamite. So what we don't know, and invariably we'll know about 10 minutes after I post this, is if Dynamite's just canning the whole program altogether, which would probably be wise at this point, because the second you get into you're allowed in, but you're not allowed in, the second you get into that stuff, I think you're fighting a losing battle at that point. But this has triggered kind of the predictable counter response from people on the Comicsgate side, or the people who just wanted that Cecil cover for whatever reason to say, we will no longer buy Dynamite. Now, the interesting thing in all this, I just have to say as an aside, is if I look at Dynamite's market share and I tally up kind of what they're selling in shops and just kind of generally their footprint, the amount of people who said they were going to boycott them the first time or boycott them the second time, those two numbers add up to way more people than are buying Dynamite. Just in general, I'm just saying, we're not talking about a massive seller here. So a lot of people are saying, they were lifelong fans of Dynamite, either the one side before or the one side after. Who I'm skeptical. Now, does that mean people have been buying Dynamite their entire lives? Sure, why not? There are definitely people who do that, but the piece of perspective, I guess, to add to all this is this isn't like a massive publisher doing massive business, which I say for two reasons. One, some perspective here, before people go off on kind of a big rage campaign about how, this group is, there have been loyal fans for 50 years, but never again. I'm not sure that's how true that is. But number two, they are also small, which means, number one, why is anyone bothering with this really in the first place? Again, somebody pointed out in the last one that I say, hey, people have freedom of choice. Publishers have freedom to publish whatever they want for whatever reasons they want. That is their choice. Consumers have freedom to buy whatever they want for whatever reasons they want. That's also their choice, and that's a good thing. It's your money to spend however you want it, whether you're a publisher, a creator, a fan, whatever you happen to be. It's your cash. And we can get emotional about where your cash is going, but at the end of the day, it's your cash. If it's coming out of your wallet, you're the one, unless we're talking about taxes to the government, you're the one taking that cash out. So if you're really bothered by something, don't. Then simple enough. I'm always annoyed by people who like to make a parade out of it. And that's why I was annoyed with the group saying, how dare they do this cover, we're angry forever. And I'm annoyed, frankly, with the other side saying, how dare they not do this cover? And just state your piece, fine, but then move on. Buy things you love. I know how that sounds. But I'm just saying, and I say this not for what's right or anything else, I say it for your well-being. You as a human being, whoever's listening to this, it's your cash. If you're happy about how you're spending your cash, you're going to be a happier person. And I want that for you. I really do. I want you to be happy with what you're doing. And I'm just bit of advice. You can do whatever you want. Just bit of advice. If you spend your money where you're happy to spend it, you will be happier. And pretty much as simple as that. But where does this leave us all? I asked the question at the beginning. So is it better now that they've canceled it? Well, I think there's a lot of ways to answer that question. First off, none of this quiets anyone down. So this is the shame of it, because on all fronts, all this does is perpetuate. It keeps this going, that we can throw fits over silly things. Whether you're on one side or the other, there's far too many fits being thrown these days. There's far too many, flags being raised and people they've got to just, be mad. There's just far too much of it. And it comes from all directions. I say this from the standpoint of we've got a lot of things to create and to read. And when you're mad about something and throwing a fit over it, we're neither creating nor reading. And it's just, it's a distraction. So I look forward to the end of it. In all directions, I look forward to the end of it. I don't know that this helps. Does this make comics a better place? Again, and I need some other people on here to say, okay, Diamond's not printing the cover. Has this made the world a better place? There's a variant cover here. Who cares? I mean, I know the people who are really hoping to get this cover, I guess, care. But does canceling it now suddenly, like, the world is safer for people? If it hadn't been canceled, is the world less safe for people? I know this is overly simplistic. I grant you. And I get the reason why people do these things is they think they're trying to kind of take a stand against this or that. You know, they're taking a stand against censorship or bigotry or whatever it happens to be. But does it really accomplish it? Does this really help anything? The reality is, if you were really angry about this group and this cover, the attention that it now gets and the fundraising that will now occur is stronger. I think this thing will make more money now. This comic, whatever his property, whether it's GoFundMe's or whatever else, I think it will make more money now because of the attention. So was the goal to keep him from making money, or was the goal that they just didn't want Dynamite to get involved in all this? I'm not sure. The reality is, the more money that this group, whether it's Comicsgate or whoever it happens to be, the more money they get, the more credibility, the more this cements in as a thing, the more likely it is that they will start finding a publisher, that they will start. I mean, if the goal is to keep this out of comic shops, I think you're failing miserably, because the more attention you give it, the more people are getting drawn to this thing. You're not subtracting, you're adding. And on the other direction, if this thing hasn't been published, I don't know what everybody's after anymore. I just don't. And people feel very certain, very positive about it. They will say, oh, this is standing up for bigotry and hate. Okay, but how is it doing that exactly? Let's say for a moment that all the people involved in this cover are terrible, awful people. They're going to wind up with more money out of this. They're going to wind up with more attention and more credibility out of all this. That's what's been done. Does this give, like, somebody who's not a hateful person a job? Does it get, like, if there were 2 comics that are going to be printed and they withdrew one that is associated with quote unquote hate, does one that is not associated with hate take its place? I don't think so. And for Dynamite, do now that the cover has been canceled, are all the people who are angry with you going to suddenly come in and fund you? Like, are you going to? I don't think so either. I think that this just continues. I think that a lot of people will say, well, you should have never entered that deal in the first place, and they keep their money away from you. And the new market you were going after, maybe even if you even consciously thought you were going after a new market, they're out. So we've hurt one publisher. Is another publisher going to take its place on either side for anyone? Now, I think everybody has a right to decide what kind of stands they want to make. You know, maybe you want to make a stand for this cause or that cause. It's important to you. That's great. You're allowed to do it, and you should. You should stand up for what you believe in, whatever it happens to be. Now, what you believe in may be good and may be stupid. That's not really anybody's concern but yours. But there should be a goal here. And my question is, what's the goal? Because if I lay it all out, I think Dynamite does not win from this. I think the people who are angry about the cover, I guess they get a moral victory in that the cover doesn't get published, but I don't know that it opens up any opportunities, jobs, money, anything for anyone. I think that the group that was making the cover gets something kind of to be angry about, something to fundraise on, something to do super chats with, some money to be raised. They kind of empower their base to be upset. And so that's probably financially beneficial to a few of them. But where does that leave everyone? Anywhere? If in the comments below, if you can tell me who wins in all this. And by the way, I guess there's one other group. There's the people who were mad and outraged in the first place, who got Dynamite to blink. I guess you could say they won a moral victory. But again, do they get, is there any money going into their pockets? Do they get a job anywhere? Does this spin off to a series? What has this done for anyone long term? I mean, it made for some Twitter over the weekend, but what else? I'm really asking. So if you have the answer, leave a comment below. Maybe I'm missing somebody who actually achieved something out of this. Because the only thing, if I squint really hard, the only person I think who achieved anything out of this is probably the Cecil guy and the team there, because they're going to get some extra attention to their book, and they're going to get some people who, out of sympathy, are going to fund it more, and he'll make some more money. I think that's the winner. Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe if you don't mind. Again, and don't be shy about telling me I'm wrong. I'm always interested in I'm wrong, because I'm really trying to wrap my head around this one. It doesn't feel like a lot of energy for no gain. I don't know. Feels like everybody just lost a little bit. Hey, thanks for listening.